Do you struggle with tension when it comes to crocheting? Do you wish you could improve your tension when you're working on crochet projects? If that sounds like you, this is a video for you. I'm Rachel from Hope Corner Farm, and by day I teach hundreds of students how to crochet, and I'm going to give you my 5 best tips and tricks for improving your crochet tension. These tips have helped all of my students improve their tension and enjoy crochet more. You're going to want to stick around for number 5. That's my best and most proven tip. If you're ready to learn, let's grab a hook and some yarn and we'll get crocheting. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so you get notifications of when I post new videos, and don't forget to give me some feedback on this video. Give me a like or a comment, let me know what I did well or things that I could improve upon. Tension really does matter when it comes to crochet and how beautiful your projects turn out. So my first tip for you is practice. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I know I need to practice, but really crocheting is practice. You've got to build that muscle memory. I can tell you when I was learning how to crochet, I cannot tell you how many times I had to undo and redo projects. So it really just is a matter of building that muscle memory. Once you have that muscle memory in place, you could crochet without even looking at your hands half of the time. So what do I mean here? So let's just say I'm crocheting this little project here. I'm just going to keep practicing. And if I mess up, I need to not be afraid to stop, undo it, and it's just as simple as pulling on the yarn and undoing those stitches and then retrying it. It really just is practice. Don't be afraid to frog or rip out your project or your stitches and start over again. That is my tip number 1, is practice. Practice indeed does make perfect. Tip number 2 for success with tension and crochet is using your offhand to hold your yarn, and that helps to control your tension. So what I usually do is I start by putting my slip knot onto my crochet hook. So here's my slip knot on my crochet hook. Now I'm ready to load the yarn into my left hand. Now there are a few different ways to do it. I'll show you first off how I hold my yarn. I will show you a few other different ways to hold and control that tension. You're going to have to find the one that feels the best to you. But this is how it works for me. So how I load it into my left hand is I come up between my pinky and my ring finger. So here I am coming up. This is the yarn that's attached to my skein of yarn or my yarn ball. So it's hanging down here. I'm coming up through my pinky and my ring finger so you can see where my slip knot is. I come around my ring finger here and up in between my ring finger and my middle finger. And then I come across the top of my middle finger and my index finger. And now I'm ready to crochet. So this is what it looks like on the top, from the top view of my hand. This is what it looks like from the bottom view of my hand. So again, now I also then hold on to my yarn tail with my middle finger and my thumb, and that helps with tension as well here. So if I'm ready to chain, now I'm ready to go here. So I've got my middle finger and my thumb holding onto the yarn tail to add some tension and control. I can adjust how loose or how tight my yarn is by simply moving my index finger in and out. So that helps tighten or loosen my yarn tension here. So again, you can see how I'm holding it across the top, and it kind of rides up like this diagonally across the top of my hand. So that's one way to hold this. There are other people who loop around the pinky. So they come with the hook and the slip knot, come down in between the ring and the pinky. They wrap around that pinky again, and then they come across all of their fingers here. Same thing, they're going to use that index finger to up and down control tension. So that's another way to control tension or to wrap it in your offhand. I've also seen people who kind of set it up the same way around the ring finger, and then they come and they twice wrap around their index finger, and that helps with their tension as well. So it looks something like this. So again, same way that I do it, where I come up between my pinky and my ring, wrap around my ring, come across the tops of my hand, but then they do an extra wrap around their index finger. So that's another way. Some people simply hold on right here like this. They grab on with their ring finger and their thumb, and then they're simply holding that yarn in between their middle and their index finger. So just like that, there's no additional wraps down here with that yarn. Find the way that works the best for you, and that helps you control your tension. Tip number 3 for success with tension when crocheting is to find the hook that works best for you. When I first started crocheting, I used one of these simple metal hooks. I will tell you at this point, these are not my favorite hooks to crochet with. I will use them if push comes to shove, but not my favorite. I have tried a wide variety. I've tried plastic hooks. I've tried the steel hooks with kind of the more squishy ergonomic handle. I've tried plastic hooks with that same squishy kind of ergonomic handle. I've tried the wood handle ones with the steel. Find what works best for you. I can tell you, for me, this is the hook. This is the only one. If I have a choice, these are the style I'm going to use. These are the Clover soft touch crochet hooks, and I absolutely love them. They're not so big in my hand, so if you see how I hold it here, you can see it's a lot smaller than some of these other hooks. And for me, that's what helps with my tension. Even this steel hook is a little bit bigger than this one. And this handle truly is ergonomic. Now, it's not super squishy. This little spot right here is, but I find the size to be perfect for me. Again, play around with it, see which hook works best for you, and find the one that feels most comfortable for you. And that's going to help with your tension as well. Use a bigger crochet hook for the chain stitch alone. So what that means, let's say I'm working on a project and it tells me to use a size G crochet hook. If I'm going to chain to start my project, I might instead choose to move up a size and chain with the H hook only, and then switch back to my G hook for the remainder of the project. So if you are one where your chain tension is a little too tight, so meaning your simple chain starts, you may want to move up a crochet hook size. I don't do this anymore because I've kind of figured out how to chain using the hook that that the pattern calls for. But if you are one where your chain is too tight and has a little more tension, you may want to move up a crochet hook size to chain. Unravel your yarn or unwind your yarn as you go. So what that means is I'm crocheting. If I get to the point where I'm getting a lot of resistance coming out of whatever type of yarn situation I've got going on here, so I've got a center pole here, if I want to help reduce the tightness of my crocheting or the tension when I'm crocheting, I would unravel my yarn as I go. So what does that mean? I look ahead and I pull out some of my yarn, because see, sometimes you'll get a little resistance. So I unravel my yarn a little bit, and then that way I can control my tension better when I'm crocheting. So that's a center pull. I would just keep pulling right there. And like with a ball, I would unwind a little bit here, and then that way I've unraveled some, so I don't get that tight resistance coming off of my ball of yarn as I'm crocheting. I like to move my offhand as I crochet so I can help with tension as I go. So what does that mean? Let's say I'm crocheting a chain here. So I'm going to chain, chain, chain. Now, as I get farther away from my actual active part of the yarn, I move my thumb and my middle finger up and on my project, so that helps create my tension better. So I'm going to keep chaining, 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 move my hand up, chain, 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 move my hand up. So I do use this hand a lot for controlling tension. Now, if I go on to another row, same thing. I am keeping my hand close, my offhand close to where I'm actively working. So I like to usually move my thumb and my middle finger to the other side of whatever stitch I'm going to be working into. So I move it down each time I go to take a stitch. I also am using this index finger here to help hold with tension as well. So what do I mean? I yarn over. I like to put my index finger on that yarn over. That kind of helps keep it in place where I want it to be, so I can't move it and make it bigger or tighter. I get it where I want. I put my index finger on there, and then I go into there. So again, if you notice, I'm keeping my index finger riding on top of the yarn here a lot as I'm going. So the index finger of my actual hook hand. And again, I'm moving this hand down the work. So I'm holding my tension here as well. Again, I'm creating tension by moving this index finger and by holding the yarn in this place here. I'm using my thumb and my middle finger here on the rest of my work to put my hook in the right place as I go. So again, keep your hands moving. It is not just your hook and your offhand's index finger that are creating tension. It's all of it. You are using this finger to hold yarn in place. You're using these fingers to pinch the work and keep it moving. And that's a great way to help with tension. And there you have my top 5 hacks for improving crochet tension. I hope you guys found these helpful, and I hope they help improve your crocheting. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so you get notifications of when I post new videos, and give me a little bit of feedback on this video. And now if you're ready to learn and go to the next step, check out my video for how to slip knot and chain and crochet. That's the first place you start when you're crocheting. So if you're ready to learn, check that out.